Hi, and welcome back to my tutorial series on Azgaar's Fantasy Map Generator. For part 3, we will be covering burgs, states, cultures, provinces, diplomacy, military, and religions. So, let's get to it. I'll first be covering all there is to burgs. A burg is the common name for these dots on your map which represent a town or city. However, you can make them represent villages, castles, or any kind of dwelling by going into the group menu here, and then clicking on the plus button. By entering a new name, you have also created a new style category. Notice how by default, cities are larger than towns. You can edit the style to make your new categories distinct as well. The paintbrush will quickly jump you over to the style menu. Under burg icons, select your category, which you can now customize a bit. For example, I'll denote castles with a black inner circle. Next, each burg carries an emblem, which is randomly generated by an external site called Armoria. Azgaar also made this tool, and it probably warrants a tutorial all of its own. In either case, this menu pertains to the emblem rather than the burg, so you can edit the state, province, and even the burg it belongs to as well as its shape. Obviously, it is already attached to the burg you clicked from, but you can change this. You can also choose to regenerate the emblem, edit it directly in the Armoria website, download, upload a new one, download all the emblems from this entire map, and locate the emblem on the map. Next is a new feature, which projects the map in this menu from Whatabout's City Generator, another third-party program made by Whatabout. I hope I'm saying that right. You can click the link to access the website, copy down the seed, and also regenerate it. This generator takes into account the features here, which add character to each city. It also considers city population and can be adjusted at the Units editor under Tools tab. Here at Urban Density, which equals this number of population per building. This next button lets you freely relocate the burg, and then there's a notepad option to attach a description, a lock button to prevent any regeneration features from affecting this burg, and finally, a delete burg button. Moving on, I will be covering states and cultures in tandem. States rely on cultures chiefly for their name base as well as regeneration patterns. As an aside, you can localize your world better by selecting a preset under Culture Set to limit culture generation by category. If you look at the type value under cultures, there are several kinds which affect the spread of cultures as it naturally generates. For example, naval types will generate with more coastal cells. I will link a document in the description with a full rundown on these types. I should add that cultures only spawn where there is a population to represent it, as do states and religions. Habitability is determined by the biomes menu, mainly, and differs per each biome. So when I set a biome to 0%, there is literally no inhabitants to have a culture or government. Additionally, you can change the shapes of shields/emblems under the emblem column here. You can also go to a setting and options labeled emblem shape, where you can assign emblem shapes to link to cultures, states, or be uniform throughout the entire map. There is a cool option called the culture hierarchy, where you can essentially note parent and child cultures by dragging the culture labels underneath one another. In this way, you add history by showing which culture came first, second, etc. States will follow the expansion type of cultures, as each state is assigned a culture based on the spawn of its capital. You can change this culture under the corresponding column. State names can be edited in multiple ways. By clicking on the name, you are given a short and full name as well as a form type. Forms are usually things like Empire, Confederacy, Republic, etc. There's also a blank option under form, which will then only consider the short and full names. Short names are used when the state is smaller and in order to keep the name relevant and fitting into its space. I typically edit the short name and then regenerate the full name using this cycle button so that they match on the generator side as well. The buttons at the bottom of the state editor will refresh the menu, doing effectively nothing if you have remaining exterior changes, shortcuts to styles editor, legend box for states, a percentage toggle, a cool bubble chart, which is just another way of visualizing data, the regeneration menu, where you can click the option to auto change labels, the state painting button, adding states button, and the option to save all data. With states and cultures set, we can move on to provinces. Provinces are a subdivision of a state, and in Azgaar's map generator, they have their own forms, emblems, and capitals. Editing a province through the tools menu is mostly the same as states. Naming conventions are about the same, but with denominal names like barony, county, district, etc. There's also a useful option here to paint all the provinces of the state to match the color scheme of a state's own color. There is also a small flag button here, which makes the province independent and promotes it to a state. This sort of brings me to my next topic, which is diplomacy. Diplomacy is a simple menu where there is a range of relations from ally to rival. Notice how when I declared this province independent, it is instantly enemies with the state it became independent from. States are given random diplomacy assignment when generated, and can be edited here. There's also a button here which shows a history of diplomatic relations. This will be updated as your relations change, and even works with the age and current year you have in the options menu. Azgaar is currently working to implement a more thorough history mechanic to this generator, but this serves nicely as a stand-in for the meantime. Now onto military. By default, there are basic unit selection, and every country is given armies made up of soldiers to match the stats of the state, culture, and the military data. Primarily, these rely on War Alert, found in the Military Overview tab, as well as the population of a state. War Alert is simply a factor by how many states are currently enemies with any particular state. The Military Overview menu here is your main menu for all stats and editing. By clicking on the I at the end here, you can access an incredibly in-depth text tutorial to military, so I will be covering the general features and what you should probably consider. A lot of these options are the same as other menus with the exception of this Edit Military Units button, where you can manually add or delete unit types. You can edit their name, and also select if they are specific to any biome, state, culture, or religion. Next, you can determine their spawn rates with these values here. Looking at these values, consider 1 to be 100% here, so these decimals are actually a percentage. Rural population is the population in a cell that is not in a burg. Urban population is just that, the population of the burgs. Crew is the amount of people needed to fulfill one unit, so for example, a cannon may need 3 or 4 population to man, while a ship can take a crew of hundreds. The crew size is comparable to the population, so there will be less ships than infantry units, for example, because ships will take a larger crew size. Power is essentially how much damage one of these units can do in battle. To put in perspective, units with a power of 10 or 20 can practically defeat an army of units with a power of 1 without losing much themselves. Next, you can denote the type of unit, which does matter for phases of combat as well as generation. Mounted units, for example, are more likely to spawn from plain/grassland cells. Selecting the box on the step or separation column here will say that this unit spawns in an army alone without any other units. By clicking apply, all military units are automatically regenerated, so be sure to save often and be careful when defining military units. Lastly, you can drag the military units on the map and even have them battle one another. By clicking this first button and selecting another army, it will pair up for battle. When conducting a battle, the first option here defines what type of battle it is. This mostly affects the phases found here, which determine which units excel at what points of battle. You can change the phase manually, but it naturally progresses as well without needing to touch it. The number next to it is a range from 1 to 6, which adds a random multiplier to an army to account for general randomness in a battle. By clicking on these, it rerolls that number randomly. These other buttons allow you to change the battle name, add other regiments, beginning with nearest armies, reroll dice for a random factor, play 1 tick of the battle, accept changes, cancel changes, and a text tutorial link to battles. With all that said, if we play the battle, notice that both sides will inflict casualties on each other. You can click this button as many times as you like until one side has lost all of its soldiers. For the sake of realism though, I typically would click until one side gets the retreat phase, denoted by the white flag, and then accept these changes. After playing out a battle, a marker will spawn with the date, armies, and casualties as a record of the event. This should sum up the majority of military, but there's a lot of code you can get into if that's your sort of thing. Additionally, in militaries, there is a Create New Regiment button. There's a button to split the regiment equally. There's a button to combine or merge regiments. Regenerate the text noted legend for this regiment, and also edit it yourself, as well as delete the regiment. The regiment also comes with a name and emblem which you can customize yourself. Alright, next are religions. Religions mostly serve to add flavor and have no real bearing on generation or anything else. Similar to cultures, religions start from a core and starting location to generate from. You can also edit the different aspects like its levels of organization and type of theism, which is the amount of gods it has, and the name of its main deity. Like cultures too, it has a hierarchy tree. Editing religions is practically the same as editing states and cultures, so there is not much for me to go over that is new. I believe that should cover it for this video. I will be going over the smaller functions in my next video, including routes, zones, markers, and style tips. As always, leave questions in the comments or the Discord, which will be linked in the description below.